I've been holding back on this for a very long time. And it's probably the most requested topic I get is, Ray, give us your fashion scaling playbook. And if you're watching this for the first time, you probably haven't seen me on X or on LinkedIn, but I'm actually known as the D2C Cotton King. And the reason why is because I have dealt with so much fashion that I literally know what to do. So our agency, Ryder Digital, we have scaled 59 brands to $500,000 a month plus. 22 of those to $1 million a month. Majority of that is fashion. Probably 50% of that is fashion. And before even this, I actually got my start where I was working for an e-commerce brand called Rayjon. I was personally the one running the advertising, and they were a fashion brand. I was spending $200,000 a week running t-shirt ads. I have done this for 8 years. I know exactly what to do, and I'm gonna break it all down. This is gonna be a series of videos where I break down this entire fashion scaling playbook. This will be part 1. I have 9 other parts prepared, breaking down exactly how to scale fashion brands and how you need to think to scale fashion brands. My personal opinion is that it is the #1 e-commerce niche to scale for a lot of different reasons. I'm quite partial to it because the bigger you get, the more you can charge. You can't say that about CPG. Yes, CPG has, like, for example, really great business model with repeat customers, but there's something about fashion. You can almost command your own prices if you have a really good fashion brand. And that's why I love it so much. Some of the most profitable brands that we get to work with, and I see the back end of their P&Ls, are fashion brands. So I'm gonna break down the entire master scaling playbook over this Ultimate Fashion Playbook series. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cover the first phase in this video. Now, you need to understand for this first phase is the entire underpinning strategy of fashion lives in what I call a flywheel. A flywheel is a set of strategies that when you use them together cohesively, they create momentum, and that momentum, the more that wheel spins, the faster it spins and the faster you go. And it's also harder to stop, which is great because it makes you very hard to beat. So let's kind of break out the model real quick. So I've shown this model before, but it's important you understand the full context and thesis of this because all of e-commerce is quite easy on the base level. Not easy to execute, but the business model is quite easy. Same thing with fashion, that the fashion model at the very root cause is very easy, but still hard to execute, especially at scale and consistently. So at the base of everything that we do for fashion brands, this is the model. This is the flywheel. Very simply, the flywheel you have to keep in your mind 24/7 is I only have 2 types of customers, new and returning. And I'm not trying to insult your intelligence because this may be fundamental for some of you guys and foundational, but it's critically important because it is the foundation of everything that we do. So you have new customers, returning customers. The whole goal is I have to acquire new customers. And so I'm going to spend as much money as I can stomach to get more new customers. In this series, we're going to talk about customer cohorts and how I can show and project and forecast for that for you guys. But the whole point is to fill up new customers because those new customers become repeat customers when I drop something new or I launch a new style, okay? And then once I drop something new, that's actually where I get most of my profit from. And it allows me to then spend more to acquire more customers, and the whole thing spins. And while it's important to think about this is because, like, we have fashion brands, by following this flywheel, things get bigger. It's like the compounding snowball. And that's why our brands that we do this process for them over 12 months, 16 months, 18 months, that's why at the very beginning, when they do a drop, they may make 10 grand. But then by the end of 18 months, they do a drop and they make 80 grand, 100 grand, 6-figure days, because we've spent so much time acquiring so many new customers as aggressively as possible. It's like they're okay to take it on the chin in the short term because the payoff is when you've filled up your list with so many customers that each time you drop something, a new style, a new seasonal collection, spring, fall, winter, it gets bigger and bigger. And that's why we can send an email now. We can make $50,000 from an email. And that's why I said that's where a lot of your profit comes from for fashion is when you do launch that new style, that is what gets people to come back. So here's how it works is for growth, the pillars for growth is I need to funnel ad spend, and you can interchange ad spend for some kind of other traffic mechanism. So if you're very, very good at organic content, a few of our brands are, they can increase their traffic from organic because they're really good at organic, and they'll just 10x the number of posts that they do, or the type of content that they do. But you need some kind of traffic source you can control. Most brands, 99% of brands, can be ad spend. Then you funnel with new customers, but then you do marketing activations. So marketing activations, what I call that are marketing moments. Like there are marketing campaigns. I'm not talking like building a campaign in Google or Meta. I'm talking about having a calendar. We're going to make a big deal about this thing. It can be a new product launch. It can be a new product drop. It can be a sale. It can be a collaboration, but you're making a big deal about it. It's not a marketing activation if you just kind of halfway do it. No, a marketing activation for us, because we plan out 12-month marketing calendars for our brands we work with, is something that's on the calendar and we make a big deal about it. Okay. Then profit comes from repeat customers. And then by doing all these actions, it creates more opportunities for more scale. And that opportunity could be more scale. It could be more inventory. It could be just paying yourself a whole lot more. I don't talk about this enough, but the difference, in my opinion, between founders who are barely scraping by, working 20-hour days, not paying themselves very much, is because they're not doing this flywheel in this core root cause strategy. That's why many of our founders, over 18 months of working with us, they go from, not to be mean or rude, but driving like a beat up Honda Civic to buying a brand new BMW, because they have so much cash and profit now. They can afford those nice things in life and still grow their brand and reinvest in their brand. Okay, so now that you understand the core foundation of the strategy of the fashion playbook, now we're going to dive into the first part. And that first part is you have to understand there's different business models. Now, I was talking to a friend and he's like, hey man, like how many times have you done this? I'm like, dude, we have scaled so many fashion brands. I counted up how many fashion brands we have scaled. We have literally done it more than a SpaceX rocket launch. Like that is how much we have perfected this playbook. It's not like we've done it 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 59 times over 7 years. So I've seen this so many times. I know exactly what to do. So we're going to dive into the first part, and I need you to understand, and these are all fashion brands, right? Fashion. And I need you to understand there's different business models for fashion. So that's going to be the first video today, is like, you have to understand what is the business model I'm going to go with in the fashion industry. I've seen both work, and both are very successful. There's 2 main ones. You can even do like a hybrid between the 2, but fundamentally, you need to understand directionally what is the business model, because it's different strategies. Also, you're training your customers to think differently, but it's also very different inventory strategies as well. And that's the main reason why I'm talking about it, because you need to understand what that strategy is, and that's going to really dictate your logistics of inventory, photo shoots, things like that. All right, so the first one is the drop strategy. This is a great one. I'm very partial to it. I got a lot of my personal success from this drop strategy. The drop strategy is quite simple. Like, it is what it says. The drop strategy is you launch a new style every month. Like, that's pretty much it. And it can be every quarter. Some brands have done it every quarter. My personal belief is you do it at least once a month using the strategy, so that you train your customers what to expect. There's a lot of examples of this I'm going to talk about in this video today, but typically once a month. Now, the important thing here is you want to train your customers that they can expect it every month on the second week, for example, because once you start to kind of break that, it kind of starts to break this unsaid contract where they've come to believe and understand there's going to be something new for them to choose from the next month. And that's probably the hardest part about this model, is it's quite intensive from an admin and logistics standpoint, because every month you're planning the drop that's going to happen 2 months, and it never ever stops, really. Now, we are very well known for our product drop strategy. And so when we work with brands that have this kind of strategy, what we are doing is we're literally doing a product drop strategy every month. And so even for my team, it's quite intensive, because it's a lot of effort every time you do one of these things. And so that means every month we're kind of just doing the same thing, and it compounds as well. And that's the reason why I like it. So this is the model, is when we do a product drop for this drop model, we have what's called the 4 phases to a good product drop. We have the ground game, the ramp up, the teasing and the hype, and the launch. You probably heard some of this before, but I can tell you no one does it like us or on steroids like we do it. And I'm going to give you a quick sample of what we go through every single time that we do a drop. So the ground game. The ground game is quite simple. The first thing we do before every drop is we then forecast. This is something I'll review in one of the future trainings is how do you forecast? How do you forecast for fashion drops? For us, one of the big things, as I mentioned previously, there's two types of customers, new and returning. So every single new drop we do, we forecast what is the new versus returning customers that we are going to expect, but also what becomes our targets. And that's important. What are your targets that you're shooting for? And for us, for every drop, we outline new and returning customers. Because what that does is once we understand how many returning customers we can expect, then it tells us, okay, how much money we need to spend on ads to acquire those new customers to hit that revenue target for that month's drop. So once we do that, then we do exactly what I said. Then we use another tool where we calculate how much advertising do we need to hit that. So for example, let's say our goal is to hit $500,000 in revenue for this next month's drop. So we would, using cohorts, forecast how many returning customers do we believe is going to buy from this drop based off of our historical average and our forecast. And let's say it's going to be 300,000. Okay, cool. So we know $300,000 for this next drop is expected to be returning customer revenue. So the difference or that gap is 200K. So once we know that, then we forecast, okay, how much ad spend is going to be required for us to hit that $200,000 in just new customer revenue? And what is the potential contribution profit of that $200,000 that we believe we're going to hit? So this is a tool we use to help us forecast how much we need to spend at what CAC as well. Okay, so that's the first phase. So just to recap, that is the ground game. The ground game essentially is the preparation of what's my forecast, what are my targets, how many new versus returning customers. And then for new customers, it pretty much outlines how much do I need to spend this month to get ready for that drop to get that new customer revenue. Okay, then we have the ramp up. The ramp up phase, essentially, like I said, let's start ramping up and acquiring people to join a list. So there's a few things that work really great here. Is the ramp up essentially is you're trying to, for lack of a better way, fatten the calf. So you're trying to fatten the calf for the slaughter. What that means is to get returning customers, for example, that requires an email list, a text message list, okay? And on that list, you're gonna have a mix of both people who have bought from you in the past and people who have never bought. You can come up with what is the average email value for people who have bought before and people who have never bought. And you can actually forecast, okay, for me to make $300,000, how many emails of people who are interested do I need? And what is that mix between customers and non-customers? And you can pretty much, almost with perfect accuracy, determine how many people do I need to say, yes, I want to be a part of that thing. So one thing that we do is, let's say if we have a big drop that's coming, we do this all the time anyways, we're typically running some kind of a sign up to join that list. Or for example, we're running like offers behind the scenes to just fill up our current customer bucket of people. But essentially, we're getting people to sign up because part of the forecast or the ground game that I mentioned earlier, so this phase right here, we also forecast, okay, how big of a list do we need of VIP sign up people or people who said that they want access to that next drop. The other thing we're doing is we're having our brands update their bios on TikTok, on Instagram, because while that's not going to add a ton of extra people, it is quite incremental and it is important because at this point, we're trying to use everything at our disposal to get more people to opt into our list to gear up for that next drop. It's very important. Okay. We'll even have them included in their posts. For example, a lot of you guys, you have a very active social following. You should be leveraging that as well. So when you talk about something new is coming, have them text this code to be entered in for when it drops, for example. Use everything at your disposal anytime you have someone's attention, because every phone number, every email you get is money. And if you actually do the math, it will tell you how much money each email address and phone number actually is for you. And the other thing we do as well is update the pop-up. So make sure you have like a 2-stage pop-up setup where you're capturing both phone number and email. That's very, very important. You want to make sure you're capturing both. So I like the 3-stage pop-up where they see the offer, they enter the email address, and then they get another offer for SMS. All right, next phase, the teasing and the hype. So we did the forecasts. We're getting people to opt into our list. Now the teasing and the hype. For us, this is the most critical part of having an incredible drop. And in my humble opinion, it's the one that everyone sucks the most at and people don't do. People think teasing and hyping is just sending a couple of reminders and having a countdown timer. That is not teasing and hyping at all. How we do it is we purposefully plan several surprise and delights for people who opt in that, yes, I want to be part of this drop and buy. So we do a lot of surprise and delights. Those surprise and delights can be several things. So here's an opt-in of an upcoming launch of these dresses. Okay, when people opt in, we have our brands do hype reels, have them do behind the scenes, have them do what went into making this pattern, into making this product. We have them do some surprise giveaways. Anyone who buys over the weekend is also going to get entered into this giveaway. You want to do things that purposefully make them feel like, oh my gosh, I have to be a part of this drop. And that's where people just really go wrong. And then it goes into a very simple landing page. Landing pages are not that big of a deal when it comes to a drop. Just need to have some kind of visualization of what they're going to get. And then a really great landing page that just captures their first name, email address, phone number. That's pretty much it. There's a few other secrets we do here as well, but that's pretty much it. Okay. Then you have the launch. The launch is probably the easiest part of this entire phase. Is you literally just run creative, but you use marketing language like just landed, arrived for the first time ever, available but only for 1,000 people. Like use some scarcity or curiosity, or especially when you say the word new a lot. It's surprising, especially for women's fashion brands, how well that works. But yeah, man, it's very simple creative. Like on launch, creative is all you need and it crushes. And then absolutely crushes, absolutely crushes. So now that we understand the drop model, so that's the drop model. Now let's talk about the second type of fashion model, and that is the evergreen model. The evergreen model is where I really got my start. So that fashion brand I told you about, they actually had an evergreen model because they had their own printers, for example. And so my job was just to constantly be testing new designs. And once I found a design that worked, I would just rip it. And that's why I was able to spend $200,000 a week selling t-shirts, because there's constantly pumping out designs. And once I got one, I would just rip it and sell it as hard as I possibly could. Because once you did that, then everyone else caught on and they just try to rip your design. But yeah, so we just rinse and repeat. So it's literally every week launching new styles, launching new ads. And then once you find those few that rip, you can just scale the crap out of it. So the evergreen model is pretty great. It's very different though from the drop model. And the reality with the evergreen model is every single brand that does the evergreen model has the same pros and cons. And that is, of your entire product catalog offering on the evergreen model, you're only going to have a select few styles that you make all your money on. So for example, when I was selling $200,000 a week on t-shirts, I kid you not, it was probably just 3 designs I was spending all that money on. Because once you find the ones that crank, Meta optimizes for it, and it's the one that you can just spend the most amount of money profitably on. And so that's the hard part. I've done this with shoes, with dresses, even our fashion brands right now that are evergreen. It's like the same core products that they're spending all their money on and making most of their revenue on as well. And so don't be surprised. It's going to be probably 78% of your sales are going to come from 1 to 3 styles. And I say that because some people, they think that's bad, that there's something wrong with that. No, that's just the reality of it. And where I think a lot of founders go wrong is they think, oh man, like I'm just going to be known for these purple leggings on the internet. I want to be known for more. So I want us to put more marketing budget behind this other stuff that people don't want, because I want it to sell. And I want to be known for more than just purple leggings, as an example. But no, like you should lean into that, because doing that is actually what's going to give you scale. And so the reality is you want to ride that wave. And there's a lot of ways I'm going to teach you throughout this video training of how to keep riding that wave. And dude, like we've ridden fashion brands for 2 years off the same main core product or core 3 products that made them 8 figures. And then once they got big enough and they had so many returning customers that they can launch whatever the heck style they wanted to and make a lot of money. And that's the thing. It's all about new customers. And that's why I warned you in the beginning, as simple as that flywheel is and how you probably think I'm insulting your intelligence, it is the basis of everything. And this evergreen model is a great example. And I'll show you why here in a second. Because we take those main sellers, you don't have to take every one, but let's say you have 3 best sellers. We'll take that one and then run an irresistible acquisition offer top of funnel. Okay. And the sole purpose of it is to acquire so many freaking new customers at scale that you literally cannot lose. And I had someone inside of our mentorship group, because this is trainings in the mentorship group, ask me like, aren't you afraid of like losing money on an irresistible offer? For fashion, I'm not. And I want to tell you why. Where people really screw up and where they go wrong is they look at the numbers, they do the math, like, oh man, like buy one, get one free, buy two for $55. Like the margins are so terrible. And they are. But what you're forgetting is human psychology. And that humans love a good freaking offer. And they know a good offer when they see it, and they're going to freaking take advantage of it. So what you want to do is you want to do what I call is make them feel like they're taking advantage of you and give them prompts, pre-purchase and post-purchase, to add 2 sets to cart, 3 sets, 4 sets, 5 sets to cart. I kid you not. Every time that we do this, you think by looking at the math, people are just going to buy 1 set. That's not true. You have a crap ton of people buying 2 sets, 3 sets, 4 sets, and that's where it is insanely profitable. Now, I want to make sure you really understand this works well when, let's say, you have like a dress that's got 10 different colors. You've got these shorts in like 8 different patterns. That's where it works the best, is when you have like a main SKU with many different variants of that SKU. That is when you make the most amount of money, because people will buy more because they know it's a good deal. And that's when you just get, for example, like we had a brand we did this for, and they had a buy 2 for $55 offer. Not that great margin. It was like 50% margins like with that offer. So not that great. But they had, I think it was like 15 to 18% of people, when we prompted them, buying 2, 3 plus more sets. The average order value of that offer was over $100. It literally doubled what you thought the average order value was going to be. And it was insanely profitable for them, because when you do this, yes, a majority of people are going to buy the main hero products, and most of your revenue is going to be on those main products, but you are going to make so much freaking money from it, you won't care. But the reality is, it's all about new customer acquisition, because when we do this, we go from acquiring, when the brands come to us, maybe they're acquiring like 800 customers a month, and then once they can ramp up the inventory to acquiring 10,000, 12,000, 15,000 customers a month, and you do that over 6 to 9, 12 months, you will have hundreds and thousands of customers, so that when you do that, then you can launch new styles. And that's where you're going to make all your profit, because once they know that you have good products, they will buy those other things. And so the name of the game becomes, I need to take my hero products, not all of them, but take 1 or 2, make it become what I call like the gateway drug to your brand. And you're going to scale the crap out of it, give really great acquisition offers, and then launch new styles, limited edition things, until you find the next hero product. And you start the whole process over again until it burns out. So this is, in my opinion, a fantastic way. In my opinion, it's actually the way where most brands make the most amount of profit. That's not true. It's where most brands scale up the most aggressively, the evergreen model. The drop model, it takes a bit more time because it's more of a stair-step approach. Let me show you what that means. So this is the drop model. So I went back to the drop model real quick. Is if you're doing this model on Meta, it has to be monthly drops. You can't restock the old items because it kind of takes away from the scarcity of it. Okay, so because you have to plan the scarcity. But the hard part about drops is like the monthly creative shoots. Like you can't skip it. It's part of it. But what you're doing is you're building a raving fan base where like every time you do a drop, they know it's going to sell out. And so like they're like waiting by their calendar and waiting by their computer with their credit card. Okay. Because this model is a stair step on the drop model, is each drop, you're kind of stepping up. And so typically for our brands, like it takes like probably 2 years, maybe give or take, to get to $1 million a month run rate. But that really depends on like how much you can build that raving fan base. But the one con of the drop model is going to be that one drop can really set you back. So you want to make sure you just test before you invest, test to make sure your customers actually want it. Because I've seen a lot of brands, for example, will do like 100K. Then the next drop, they do like 200K. And the third drop's like, yeah, man, it's just going to keep going. So they launch these new styles and like they make like 50K because people don't want it. And like, oh crap, right? So you just want to make sure you test before you invest. Because if you can keep that process going, I mean, we've had brands that quite quickly within 13 months, they had an $800,000 drop, and that next one they did $1 million drop. Okay, on the evergreen model, you still launch new styles, but you do a little less frequently. Typically, it's like once a quarter, what our brands do, because there's so much of their effort and cash is tied up into keeping their main sellers in stock at all times. And maybe they'll launch a few colors of the hero products, but so much of their cash is tied into that once a quarter, they'll typically launch like a seasonal. So it's like fall line, spring line, winter line, you name it. A lot of your creative and focus is going to be just on the evergreen. And here, inventory planning is critical because if you're going to go with this model, the moment you go out of stock on your best sellers, like all your performance is going to decline. So you have to keep that in stock. So that is the phase one. All right, so that is video part one to our ultimate fashion scaling playbook. In future videos, I'm actually going to show you what creatives we do, what templates that we use. Like this is going to be very comprehensive. I've never quite released the full playbook to everyone before. Our mentorship group has the full playbook because they're in a mentorship group. They get access to everything. Inside of our mentorship group, we actually have playbooks for all these things. And the creative strategy modular, which I'm going to give you guys some of it for this channel, but not going to have all of it. We actually have a whole folder of creative inspiration and templates. A lot of it's fashion. We have over 300 ad templates in there for the people in our mentorship group. So stick around. In the next coming up videos, I'm going to talk about how to command higher prices. I'm going to talk about an overview of our media buying process and structure. So many fun things to come in this video series. If you have any questions, put it in the comments below. And if you want to join our mentorship group, in the description, in the link, I can actually have a link where you can sign up for it.